In this video, we will look into the question if AI can already do your or my job. This might sound a little bit scary, right? Doesn't it? Be prepared. This video is meant to be thought-provoking because I genuinely think we have reached a point where we should start thinking if AI could already do our job. And where's all the urgency coming from? As you might have heard, recently there have been two repositories published that are called Auto-GPT and Baby AGI, and both claim to be the first step towards an autonomous AGI. And wondering what an AGI is? Of course, let's ask ChatGPT. I mean, who uses Google anymore, right? And essentially, an AGI is a system that can perform intellectual tasks on human level or even superior to human level. And back to those new libraries, what they actually allow us to do is to describe and pass a task to our AI friend, and then the AI system comes up with a solution on its own. So it's the first step towards an autonomous AI. And this might not sound super exciting at first, but just think how we could actually describe our everyday life just in tasks. So for example, you're sleeping, your task is to rest, right? So one good solution to get rest is to sleep. Or in your job environment, create a market research report, find stocks to invest in. Or for me, try to find a cool topic to make a YouTube video about. And in case you like this video so far, I would appreciate if you subscribe to my channel and give this video a thumbs up. Okay, and now let's say your boss were to give your job-related task to an AI model like GPT-4 and would ask it to come up with a solution on its own. What would happen? How good would those results be? And that's basically what we will cover in this video. And we will look into how capable those AI models are that are, thanks to libraries like Auto-GPT or Baby AGI, now fully autonomous and can come up with a solution on its own. Yes, and that's what this video will be all about. For this, we will use a library called Auto-GPT. And as the name already partially reveals, this library uses the GPT-4 model, for which Microsoft researchers in an in-depth investigation found already sparks of AGI. And if you don't believe me, let's have a look at the abstract of the paper. And I won't show you the whole 155 pages of this whole report or paper, but what I would like to point out is this part, where we can see that the authors state, we demonstrate that beyond its mastery of language, GPT-4 can solve novel and difficult tasks that span mathematics, coding, vision, medicine, law, psychology, and more, without needing any special prompting. Moreover, in all of these tasks, GPT-4's performance is strikingly close to human-level performance and often vastly surpasses prior models such as ChatGPT. Given the breadth and depth of GPT-4's capabilities, we believe that it could reasonably be viewed as an early, yet still incomplete, version of an artificial general intelligence AGI system. And given that the GPT-4 model is described as an early version of an AGI, which is made by the Auto-GPT library, fully autonomous, I think it's definitely worth having a look at the capabilities of such a system and see how good it can already be compared to us humans. And before we do this, I want to point out two limitations of the GPT-4 model. The first limitation of the GPT-4 model is that it was primarily trained on data collected before September 2021. So this basically means that the GPT-4 model lacks knowledge about events that happened after September 2021, which would be, for example, if you asked the model who won the World Cup 2022, and the model wouldn't know it. And what OpenAI also states here, it does not learn from its experience. So by interacting with humans, it doesn't learn from it. So it won't get updated by interactions with you. So let's say your job is to find stocks to invest in April 2023. I guess only knowing events until 2021 isn't really helpful and would lead you to wrong assumptions. So just imagine Google would only suggest you articles from 2021. I guess you would do a bad job. The second limitation is the context length. And within the context, we basically pass all the information that we would like the AI model to access to generate a response to us. So for example, if you ask the model to summarize a PDF document, the whole text would be fitted inside that context window. And while with GPT-4, the context length has doubled compared to the ChatGPT model, or is even 8 times bigger than the ChatGPT model, we can still only fit in 50 pages of text into our context window using the 32K GPT-4 model. So for example, using a video as a source of information for the model still wouldn't be feasible. And just look in the mirror, because you're watching a YouTube video right now to learn something new, and basically all sources of videos can't really be used by those models yet. But also, if you have like a very complex problem and think that all the information that you can gather to generate a response or come to a conclusion for that problem can at maximum fit into 50 pages, or with a GPT-4 8K model, even just into 12 pages, which will be just one paper approximately. So the context window not necessarily has to be a limitation, but definitely can be a limitation to solve certain problems. But given those two limitations, would I even raise the question if AI models could already do our jobs? Probably not, right? So there are some solutions. And this is where the Auto-GPT library comes into place. And here we can see some of the features of the Auto-GPT library. And what I would like to highlight is the internet access for searches and information gathering, which basically allows us to also gather information about recent events. This way we can overcome the limitation of only having access to information before September 2021. So the model is also able to search the web for recent information, which is really cool. And another thing is the long-term and short-term memory management, which allows us to store knowledge or information in an external memory, and that we can access using our GPT-4 agent. And this way we don't have to fit all our knowledge inside the context window, but can access it from a vector database. And I will definitely cover vector databases in more detail in future videos, but for now I just want to give you a broad understanding of them. And for this, now let's imagine we have a simple sentence. I think here they used just Bill ran from the giraffe toward the dolphin. And if we want to represent such a sentence in a vector, there are two options. We could use a sparse vector, where basically each element represents a single word. So we have basically a vocabulary of, here we see 30,000+ different words. So basically this could be dog, cat, mouse, and this would be, for example, the dolphin in our upper sentence. So whenever a single word is in the sentence, then this is a 1 and otherwise a 0. But this way the vector is quite large, as you can see here. And a more efficient and more compressed way to store those vectors are dense vectors. And here we can see we only have 784 different elements in our vector, which are then not related to a specific word anymore, but instead are very information rich and compress information in a very dense way. That's why they're called dense vectors. And one of the features of such dense vectors is that they're in the space or in the latent space are often close together. So words with a similar semantic meaning often are close to each other in the semantic space, as we can see here for weekdays. And another analogy to better understand this, let's pretend we have dense embeddings or dense vectors for all these 4 words. And what we could technically do is we have our king embedding or king vector, subtract the man vector from it, add the woman vector, and this way we end up having a vector that is often very similar to the queen vector. It's not exactly the same vector as if we would just create a dense embedding or vector for the word queen, but usually the queen vector would be the closest to the one that we get if we subtract man from king and add woman. So this is a nice analogy to imagine how those vector representations actually work. Okay, but back to our autonomous agent. How does the vector database now helps us? And imagine that our agent searches the internet, gains new knowledge, and we do this for a couple of steps repetitively. And at some point, because we have to carry then all the gained information inside the context window, at some point the whole context window is full with all the gained information, and whenever we add new information we basically have to forget something that we learned previously. So this way we store vectors, not the ones that we saw earlier for a single word, but more for a specific, let's say, sentence or even a little bit more inside a vector database. And as you can see here, there are techniques to enforce that the question, what is the capital of France, and the answer to it, Paris is the capital of France, are in the latent space of the dense embedding, close to each other. So if you use this question, you will end up having a vector that is in the latent space very close to the corresponding answer. And usually you do inside vector databases similarity searches. So you will find all the neighbors of this question. And this is all relevant information to answer this question. This way, what we can do is to do semantic search, as we saw earlier. So basically you can ask your database questions in natural language. And those vectors can also contain information about videos, about music, pictures. So you have a bigger variety of unstructured data. And this is why vector databases are cool to also do semantic search for those data types that was not possible this way in the past. What we can also do is similarity search. As I said, we can convert all those different data types into a vector, and then we can just check inside our vector database which other vectors are neighboring vectors, and this way we can find, for example, similar images or similar videos to a given query image or video. Okay, now let's summarize the capabilities of our Auto-GPT agent. And one thing, our agent can learn new tasks very quickly with almost, if not human level intelligence, using the GPT-4 model, as we have seen in the paper earlier. We can search the internet to gain new knowledge and insights, and we can remember things long term, possibly forever, thanks to storing acquired knowledge as an embedding in a vector database. If you ask me, that's all I've got. So with those capabilities, the model could actually do my job, and maybe even yours. And now that we have learned the background about the Auto-GPT agent, I would say let's no longer talk and have a look how good the Auto-GPT agent actually is. And for this, we need a task that the Auto-GPT agent actually should solve. And I thought doing a market research could be a cool option. And then I saw that there was already a showcase of a very similar task where somebody asked the agent to do a market research for waterproof shoes, also get the top 5 competitors and a report about their pros and cons. And since you got also good results using those tasks and goals, my first task got also inspired by this one. And for some reason, I wanted to have a market research about headlamps. I'm not about to buy one. I'm not sure if I'm weird, but I wanted to have a market research about waterproof headlamps. So I decided that this will be my task. And before I show you the results, I want to mention that I came up with 2 more tasks, and the second task is to find sustainability stocks to invest in. And the third task is, given a budget of around $1,500, what will be the best hardware setup to buy for deep learning? And this is actually a question that I got asked a few times recently. So I thought, let the Auto-GPT figure it out. And now we will look into the results. And since you will be prompted with so much text in the Auto-GPT console, I decided to format the output so that it's easier to understand what actually the agent did while figuring out the market report. And it's easier for you guys to follow along. And the first thing that we have to do is to give our AI a name. And I decided to go for Research GPT. The next thing is that we have to set a goal for our agent. So I decided to go for an AI designed to autonomously create market research for a given idea. And then I came up with those 5 goals. Do market research for waterproof headlamps, get the top 5 competitors and list their pros and cons, include the price for each, save the analysis somewhere, once done, terminate. And I didn't have a 5th goal, so I just left this empty. And as I said, this is pretty much inspired by the tweet. And the first action that the agent came up with is doing a Google search for waterproof headlamps to get an idea of the market and top competitors, which I think is very reasonable. I would start the same way. And here we can see the overall plan of the agent: perform a Google search for waterproof headlamps, analyze the search results to identify the top competitors, list the pros and cons of each competitor and include their prices, save the analysis to a file. And each time, once the agent figures out the next step, you will be asked if you authorize that comment. You can also authorize a number of continuous comments so that you don't have to type each time why. And another option is to first type in N, so then you can either exit the program or enter feedback to the agent. Based on the Google results, the agent then decided to browse Amazon for waterproof headlamps, but then figured out that the website doesn't provide a comprehensive comparison of top competitors and their prices, but instead has some information on various rechargeable headlamp available on Amazon. And because of that, the agent then returned back to Google and searched another time for top competitors for waterproof headlamps. And here we can see the search term top waterproof headlamp competitors that the agent then used. And since this kept going for a long time, I decided to extract the basic information. So we have the URL and the question of the agent or the goal, what he would like to retrieve on that website. So this one we saw already. And as you can see, in the meantime, our agent found that the Black Diamond Spot 400R is apparently a waterproof headlamp. And then he tries to find out pros and cons first, and then the top 5 competitors using each time different websites. So definitely saw some information, doesn't rely on a single website, which is good. That's what we want from a in-depth market research. And here we can see that the agent figured out even more different headlamps. So you can see this one, LED lenser, pencil, LED lenser. I'm advertising basically not right now headlamps. I'm not getting paid for that. And at the end, then the agent asks again for top 5 competitors to investigate even more headlamps, which is a great strategy. And here we can see that the model then asks again for pros and cons of those different. And one thing that I would like to point out here is that for the Black Diamond Spot 350, apparently it asks 2 times the same question and uses the same website. So I guess the agent could be slightly improved in not investigating or executing the same action twice. But a thing that I actually haven't mentioned, the project or the Auto-GPT repository is just a few weeks old. And I mean, we haven't seen the final result yet, but can easily follow strategies and investigate the web, as we can already see. So I'm pretty sure this will be further optimized in the future, but it is already super cool. And I actually feel even bad to slightly complain about this little thing. One more thing, here we can also see by adding headlamp, which is semantically the same question, the agent again basically retrieves information from the same website using the same question. So yeah, just wanted to point this out. And then the model investigates even more different headlamps, as we can see here, but nothing special on this one. And then at the end, the agent one more time searches for more competitors, but it seems like can't find any new competitors. So he decides to stop searching for more competitors and instead starts looking for prices. And again, for some pros and cons, maybe for those models, he hasn't found them yet. One more time, searches for waterproof headlamps to maybe expand the amount of headlamps that are investigated in the market research. And at the end, the model again tries to figure out the missing prices. Now it seems like the model is basically summarizing and just tries to finish the market research and retrieve missing information. This is basically where the agent came to an end. Here we can see the final result, and don't worry, I will show you this formatted in a minute. I just wanted to highlight that the file the agent tried to write the result to already existed, and this way it hasn't been updated. And afterwards I had a look at the final result and was a little bit disappointed that, for example, the prices were missing. And when I saw this one, I understood why the prices were missing, which made the results even more impressive. And now I will show you the formatted way. And one more time, the repository of Auto-GPT is very new, so this is just the early start. Give it 1 month, 2 months, and I'm pretty sure we will see even more impressive results and the agent will improve even more. And voila, this is the final result of the market research from our Auto-GPT agent. And honestly, I think this is insane. Of course, I raised the question, could this agent already do our job? And I would say, after reading all the outputs in the terminal, that the Auto-GPT agent definitely hasn't reached human level yet, but it also has already reached a state where it is useful. And as we can see, we get our list of 5 waterproof headlamps. We get their pros, we get their cons, different prices, except for this one. So what I definitely learned from this one is one skill that we humans need to learn is to specifically state to the agent what we actually want. And I think this is something, if you're watching this video right now, that you definitely should consider spending more time in. How can you actually state very precise to those models a specific task so the agent can figure out their own solution? And this is sometimes also called prompt engineering, because I can already see that people are getting rich just getting super good at specifying specific tasks so that their Auto-GPT agents can work for them. And as I mentioned, this project is just 3 weeks old. Of course, in the background, it's using GPT-4, which is most of the magic, but connecting it now to the internet, having a long-term and short-term memory management with a vector database, and even more to come. I just saw how many contributors this project has. So I'm pretty sure 1 month, 2 months from now, it will be even better. And if I can give you one advice, I would say start now looking into those agents, because in the future, I'm very sure they will help you a lot in your everyday life. And those who master using those agents will definitely have a brighter future in the job market. I'm very sure about that. All right, and then I investigated the second task, for which I first created a new AI agent, which is called Broker-GPT. And Broker-GPT is an AI designed to autonomously find stocks that will have the highest price growth over the next 5 years. And furthermore, I stated the 5 goals or 4 goals. Find 5 sustainability stocks that will have the highest price growth over the next 5 years. Explain why these stocks were chosen. Include the price for each and their expected price in 5 years. Save the analysis somewhere. The 4th goal, once done, terminate. And as before, I left the 5th goal empty. And unfortunately, this time I let the agent run for 50 to 100 steps, and I tried it 3 times, but the agent never came to a solution. And I analyzed the behavior, and I encountered the agent kept running in circles. So in the first run, the agent tried to analyze a specific website and couldn't read or interpret the website because it was not written in text, but I guess it was a video or there were some diagrams. The agent also couldn't figure out that he had to drop this website, but kept returning to that website and tried over and over again to retrieve information from it. So this way the agent basically ended up being in a loop. And then the second two rows, it seemed more to be an internal problem. And as I now mentioned a couple of times, this project is very young. So overall, even though I wish I would have gotten an answer for this task as well, I'm still confident that those things can be fixed in the future, and maybe I will run exactly the same task in 1 or 2 months and see if the Auto-GPT agent is then able to come up with a solution. Okay, and finally for the last task, I one more time created an agent called IT-GPT, which is an AI that autonomously finds the best workstation for deep learning at a given price. And for this, the first goal is to find the best workstation for deep learning for a total price of $1,500. And I want the model to list all the hardware that the workstation should consist of, and also include the price for each hardware item, and then save the analysis somewhere. And as always, once the agent is done, it should terminate. Alright, and here we can see the solution that the IT-GPT agent came up with. And from my understanding, we have all the essential parts. We have a motherboard, we have a case, CPU, RAM, heatsink, storage, power supply, and of course also a GPU. And as requested, we can also see the prices of all these individual hardware items, and I calculated them together, and it's roughly around $1,000. So it's actually $500 less than requested from us, which is not ideal, but still better than more expensive, I would say. And I also had a look at the terminal and the logs from the model, and I could see it had some difficulties with doing the math and calculating the total cost of all these individual items. So sometimes it had solutions that were, let's say, around $2,400, and sometimes it was more like this one. And I think in the end, the agent then decided to go for a solution that is less expensive than 1,500, than more expensive. And yeah, I think this is still very cool and shows huge potential of those AI agents. Even though, to answer the question of this video, no, AI agents can't do your job yet. So I hope this video gives you some peace, but also shows you the potential those AI agents have already and also will have in the future. And it might be worth it to have a deeper look how those work and how we can state tasks more precisely so those agents work even better for us. Alright, and that's it for today's video. I hope it helped you understanding how autonomous AI agents that are based on large language models like GPT-4 work, and maybe you're already getting creative for what tasks you could technically use your own AI agent. If you got some cool results, please let me know in the comments. And until then, have a great time and see you in the next video. Bye bye.